Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 6th agenda meeting. South Plainfield Mayor and Council. This meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Amy, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilman Benjavanga.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Here.
Councilman Besh.
Here.
Councilman Bullock.
Here.
Council President White.
Here. Thank you. Can you take us through a review of tonight's agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this evening we have one matter on for executive session. It's a personnel matter regarding part-timers. There is the approval of the council minutes for February 21st. There's a proclamation pertaining to National Girl Scout Week. We have two ordinances on for a second reading by title. One is a bond ordinance that provides for various capital improvements. The other one is an ordinance that amends Article 19 of the Sanitary Code. There are two ordinances on for a first reading by title. One's a bond ordinance providing for the resurfacing of various roads, and the other is an ordinance to establish a cap bank. There are two budget-related resolutions on this evening, 18 regular resolutions this evening, 3 matters of correspondence, payment of bills totaling $1,692,046.11, council reports, and we conclude with public comments. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for executive session?
So. Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will have executive session tonight. Council comments on agenda items.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Mayor, I just would like to, it's ordinance 2075, and under the resolutions for the budget, 17-113A and 113B. And since I only got the budget on Saturday morning and have not had enough time to go over it, I'm uncomfortable with being able to vote on that tonight. So I feel like we should have just had some more time, or I needed more time. I had some family obligations that I had to take care of.
Okay. You want to make some budget comments now? We were going to make some budget comments for. Yeah.
I was glad you wanted to just.
Well, I mean, one of the things I know, Christine, Councilwoman Faustini came to see me today on 2075, which is the COLA ordinance. And it's a little, I think for everybody it's a little confusing. It's still, after all these years, a little confusing for you to explain. You'll see here that it references 2%, then you start reading the ordinance, and then you see 3.5%. You're trying to figure out what in the world this is. And it's really kind of nothing more than a memo entry. It's actually not adding items to the budget. What happened is the state a number of years ago, and I guess the easiest way for people in the crowd to understand it is everybody's heard of like the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and the state has what this has been known as their inflator index, where I think this year it's 0.5%. So what happens is the town is coming in significantly under the allowable 2%, and even coming in under the 0.5% allowable increase in our budget. But what we've done ever since the law has been enacted is we passed this ordinance which enables us to say, in theory, we could go up as much as 3.5%, which we never will. We won't this year. I can tell everyone right now, barring getting hit by a meteor or something, we're not going to be going up another 3.5%. But what it does do is it establishes, and this is why the term capped bank is in there. It establishes a bank to say, listen, if we, let's say, are 100% flat this year, there's no increase. It enables us, in case next year, you know, we get hit in December with a blizzard that no state of emergency is called for, or there's some type of storm, that unforeseen item that takes place, that no state of emergency is called. It enables us to, if we had to, in an emergent case, have that 3.5% that was never utilized in the 2017 budget to be available in 2018. If you didn't pass that, there would be no kind of, I guess you would say, safety net going forward. So every year, the town, what the term is, and that would last for 2 years. So every year, the term I guess the state uses is lapse. Every year we lapse tremendous amounts of, I guess you would call it potential ability to appropriate funds. And I think this year, right now, we're like $1.6 million below that level. And every year, we're you know, it lasts out there for 2 years. And since I've been here, you know, we've never been anywhere near the 3.5%, but it's kind of always been done as a safety net. And that's really what that ordinance 2075 really is. Like I said, it's really a memo entry. We're not increasing the budget at 3.5%. It's really to establish a cap bank just in case something unforeseen happens. It's really for 2018. And when we did it in 2016, it was really for 2017. So that's really what that is. And do you want me to talk about the budget?
Yeah, just real quick. So, in other words, partly this is done to prevent a knee-jerk reaction of just automatically increasing the budget to the allowable 2% or more when a municipality doesn't have to, right? It's just kind of, in a way, because you're building this essentially line of credit or cap bank, you could look at it that way, right? I mean, the other thing, if you didn't have such a thing, right, for the borough or any municipality to protect itself, it might normally just go ahead and raise taxes up to the allowable amount, to a degree.
Correct. I mean,
I don't think that makes it any clearer, but
I see it.
like I said, it's something that rarely gets utilized, but since I've been the CFO for 15 years here, I'm not sure which year this has been established. Every year that I've been here, we've passed this ordinance, and we've passed this ordinance really just as in case there's ever a need in some future date that an emergent situation arose that we needed the ability to appropriate funds without having to go into like a referendum or something like that.
are you aware of any municipality that doesn't create this?
I believe Plainfield one year didn't do it, and then they did do it, but I believe they've been doing it ever since. I think like 3 years ago, the one year they didn't do it. You know, I can't say offhand how many towns do it or don't do it. I tend to think that the
It's
vast
more
majority-
common than
Oh, much more common.
Okay.
How many times have we had to use it?
No.
Or not?
Really never. You know, I mean,
It's more of a catastrophic.
yeah, it's more of a catastrophic backup, because it's one of these things where if you don't do it and something happens a year from now that, you know, the state enacted it, you know, just put it another way, the state enacted it to reward, I'd like to say, I mean, I hate to, this is my own take on this. The state enacted it to reward municipalities that operated below their thresholds. So that they said, you know, they didn't want people to operate under a certain expense threshold and then get punished by it. So they said, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna establish this bank so that if you were able to go up, you know, $1 million in expenses, you only went up 500,000. We're gonna put $500,000 in a memo entry aside so that if a year from now something happened unforeseen, you know, that 500,000 would be available to you. That's kind of the premise behind it. I'm explaining it well, but
Yeah, and I've been on here since 2005, and it's been in existence ever since I've been on the council. You spoke about some of the budget items, so I think that it's appropriate now that Glenn, if I can just go through the budget, since we have some crowd here to talk about some of the highlights of the budget.
civic sauce.
A little nervous to put my two nieces, Annabelle and Allegra, out there, so but we'll get through it. So just to highlight some of the things about this 2017 budget, first I want to thank Vice President White and Councilman Wallach and CFO Administrator Glenn Cullen for putting the time and the effort into coming up with a budget for the residents of South Plainfield to be introduced tonight. So this budget is our 2017 budget, which totals $28,507,321. This is 0.3% below 2016. The 2017 municipal and library taxes total $19,201,396. This is a decrease of $33,328, or 0.2 points lower than 2016. This means that municipal taxes on the average assessed home will total $1,675.29, or $7.56 below last year's municipal taxes. The 2017 municipal tax levy is flat/slightly below even 2009 municipal tax levels. Increases in surplus and delinquent tax revenues have offset a projected modest reduction in miscellaneous revenue. The borough's rateable base is up $3.8 million and has resulted in $53,000 in additional tax revenues over 2016. And this is the second consecutive year of rateable increases, and we anticipated third year next year of increases. There are no large one-time revenues items in this budget, which means it's a very responsible budget. Budgeted salaries for 2017 is only 1.4% above 2016 levels, and appropriations are down due to debt service, capital obligations, and the timing of certain grants. So this is obviously the introduction, which I'm very happy with, that it's slightly below last year's budget, and obviously residents will be paying a little less than last year. But this is just the introduction, so now we have some work to do, and I anticipate that when we finalize this, it'll be even less. So that's what we were going to vote on. Glenn, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is, I mean, one of the big benefits that we had is we've had back-to-back years of rateable base increases, and really what that means is the base in which we're calculating has increased. So, right now, I think we're at a rateable base has finally broke back through 1.4 billion, and it hasn't been at that level in 4 years, I think. So that's, by having, additional, I guess, economic growth, that has made the pie a little larger from a revenue standpoint without having to change the rate. So we've had that happen. We've had our surplus increase, and the way the budget works, and you can see it there, is, we pretty much, our surpluses, revolves. Whatever we earn in surplus, we give back, to the taxpayers in tax relief in the municipal budget. So, I would think that where we stand today, that, I expect, based on what we've introduced here, I'm expecting we'll probably come in lower in our tax rate, but I also think that we'll end 2017 where we are to start. So it's kind of, how we've done it. I think last year we were the third lowest in Middlesex County in taxes, and one of the towns, I think it's Granbury. When you compare all the surrounding towns, we're much lower. And I think, Councilman, that this helps achieve what we've been able to achieve in the past.
Anything else? It's got to say that with a little more vigor, right?
I'm sorry.
I think you're putting people to sleep.
I am an accountant.
So in summary, it's a good budget, puts us below last year. I think probably below the municipal rate from 2009, and it's not finalized yet. It'll be introduced, and I think we are looking to hold
Yeah,
a
won't
budget
have,
hearing or the public hearing for May 1st.
Yeah, so everyone's going to have almost 2 months to pour over this. We'll have our budget hearings, which we'll announce and I'm available to answer any questions, but, this is, we can adopt it, at the beginning of April, but I know there's some timing issues with vacations and things like that, so we're going to give everybody ample time to go through, and that was part of the reason I think we introduced it, a month and a half earlier this year than we have in previous years. I think it's a financially sound budget, and I'm struggling to remember the last time we actually introduced a budget that was, that the tax rate was actually below the previous year. So I think we're all very happy about that. And that's it. Hopefully,
All right.
I gave you a little more vigor there.
All right, so Councilman, those are separate items on there, so, at the time, the council's free to do whatever they want, although this isn't a budget, like I said, it's lower than the previous year. There are no tricks in here. I remember 7 years ago, there was some comments of gloom and doom. We were using too much surplus, we weren't going to be able to generate anything, the sky was falling, the sky hasn't fallen. We are here 7 years later introducing a budget that is lower than that budget. So this is something, we're not moving out of town. I don't plan on it. This is a budget that, we don't ask Glenn to pull any tricks. We ask him to be frugal and maybe next year use some charts and graphs and get a little bit more enthusiastic. But in all seriousness, this is something that we feel comfortable with, and like the Councilman Benjamin said, we'll look to trim a little bit more. I don't know how much realistically there is to trim, but we'll see. Never done until it's over. But everybody should feel comfortable, and I understand that clearly there's not a lot of room, but there really was no reason this year to delay as we were, the Finance Committee was going through the budget, and we knew kind of going into last year, or coming out of last year, that this would be in a good position, or we felt we'd be in a good position, so looking forward to the final adoption. Any other council comments, questions, concerns? Okay, at this point we'll open it up for any public comments on agenda items only. There's no merit badges for agenda questions. All right, I tried. I think I was asked my favorite color at Dr. Seuss Day, so I counted. At this point, let's for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So,
All right, seeing no reason to delay, we'll go to the public meeting. Again, this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting also being provided to the borough's 2 official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Amy, will you call the roll once more?
Councilman Benjavanga?
here.
Councilman Dean?
Here.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Here.
Councilman Besh?
Here.
Councilman Wood?
Here.
And Council President White?
Here. Thank you. Do we have a Girl Scout who wants to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. Come up here. Make sure that mic, can somebody make sure that, yeah, come up here. Come up here. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation by Councilman Beck.
Lord, we ask that you keep our military, police, firemen, and rescue squad personnel from harm's way, and that you give this council the wisdom to govern over this great borough.
All right, at this point, we'll open up once again for public comments on agenda items only. Seeing no reason, no questions, we'll close the public portion. Can I get a motion to approve the council minutes of February 21st?
Motion.
CDBG special hearing, agenda, and public.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Faustini, seconded by Councilman Benjavango. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Besh,
Yes.
Councilman Bullock,
Yes.
and Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple proclamations to give out. I guess that's why we've got some Girl Scouts in the audience. So it will be Girl Scout Week, March 12th through 18th, 2017. And whereas March 12th, 2017 marks the 105th anniversary of Girl Scouts of the USA, founded by Julia Gordon Lowe in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. And whereas throughout its distinguished history, Girl Scouting has inspired millions of girls and women with the highest ideals of courage, confidence, and character. And whereas girls discover, connect, and take action to make their local communities and their world a better place. And whereas more than 2.7 million current Girl Scout members nationwide will be celebrating 105 years of this American tradition, with 61 million women who are former Girl Scouts and living proof of the impact of this amazing movement. And therefore, I meant to be an Mayor of the Borough of South Plainfield to hereby proclaim March 12th through 18th, 2017 as Girl Scout Week in the Borough of South Plainfield, and do hereby applaud the commitment Girl Scouting has made to South Plainfield's girls. So, we have Councilman Fauci. At this point, all the girls, how are we going to do this? Want to do it up here? Okay. Girl Scouts, come this way. Well, they're all different.
You guys can go right in here. Be careful.
I think they have to stand. They're gonna have to. Mayor, they have to stand. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta stand. All right, girls, stand.
Sorry, Christine. You guys gotta switch.
Look this way. Okay, got it.
Gary, where you are, I can't get that. Those have to come up.
Squeeze it.
Madison.
Everybody smile.
Hey, move that way. Move over. Yeah, on your face, I'm going.
Guys, just look straight ahead.
Ready, straight ahead.
Straight ahead.
Leading the green.
right, girls.
Gonna work? This is not gonna work. Where's the trip leader? Trip leader. What is that?
Okay, we're going to take a brief 5-minute recess. The girls, back everyone. Amy, from now on, you are in charge of all mass photographs. Okay, for final adoption, ordinance 2072.
Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements for the Department of Public Works and by the Borough of South Plainfield in the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $280,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $264,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Can I get a motion for final adoption of ordinance 2072?
So,
Second.
Motion by Councilman Pennsylvania, seconded by Councilman Wall. As this is for final adoption, open up for public comments. Seeing none, close the public portion. Council comments on ordinance 2072? Seeing none, Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Dash?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Also for final adoption, ordinance 2073.
An ordinance amending Article 19 of the Sanitary Code of the Borough of South Plainfield entitled Licensing Fees.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2073?
Second?
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Councilwoman Ostini. This is also for final adoption. I'll open it up for public comments regarding the adoption of ordinance 2073. Seeing none, close the public portion. Council comments regarding ordinance 2073. None. Amy, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Dash?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2074.
Bond ordinance providing for resurfacing of various roads in and by the Borough of South Plainfield in the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $1,300,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $900,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2074?
So,
Second. Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Council President White. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Dash?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. And also for introduction, ordinance 2075.
Calendar year 2017 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank when the COLA is equal to or less than 2% pursuant to NJSA 48:1 25.14.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2075?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh.
I'm going to abstain.
Councilman Wolf.
Yes.
And Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to have a presentation regarding our introduction of our budget. Is there any further comments that we want to make? None? Okay. Can I get a motion for Resolution 17-113, Ed?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Council President White. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
I'm going to abstain until I was away this weekend, so I just want to set some time to meet up with Glenn and just review for more things as well.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh.
I'm also going to abstain.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. And also Resolution 17-113B.
All-
Second.
I didn't motion.
Can we get a motion for, motion by Councilman Wollock,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Abstain again.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh.
Abstain.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for Resolutions 17-114 to 17-131?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. We have 3 items of correspondence: Finance Office Tax Bill Calculation Sheet, Recycling Monthly Report for January 2017, and the Business Advisory Group Minutes for November 2nd, 2016. Can I get a motion?
Motion?
Second. Motion by Councilman Faustini, seconded by Council President White. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh. Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for payment of bills of $1,692,046.11?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Councilman Dean. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilman Besh.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzo.
Progress.
Progress. Administrator and CFO Cullen.
Yes, Mayor, just wanted to, once again, thank all the department heads for, their hard work in us getting to the level that we're currently at for the 2017 budget, and there's still a lot more work ahead of us, and, other than that, progress.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of quick things. We went out for proposals, and they were supposed to be received last week for picking up the recycling, Baltic compactor, and no one bid. So we went back out and called the vendors, and they seem to have lost the thing. So hopefully, we went back out, and I'm going to receive the bids again next Thursday. So we should be able to award it the next meeting, so we can keep the compactor on schedule to open. This week on Thursday, we're going to be receiving the bids for the curbside recycling. So hopefully, with the rates that they're able to get, the rebates that they're able to get on the recycling material, hopefully we can save some money from the contract we had last year. And with that progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Antonides.
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Dean.
No, nothing to report on progress.
Thank you. Councilwoman Faustini.
Okay, well, I actually have quite a little bit. First, seeing nobody from the library board here tonight, I just want to, thank the friends of, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to come and talk about who you at Dr. Seuss?
You're doing a fine job.
I'm so sorry. Usually it's either Cheryl or Darlene, so, but feel free to interject. I'm sorry, I apologize. You sure? Okay. I wanted to thank the library board, Mr. Benjavanga. Let me thank you personally, and the Friends of the library staff, for the Read Across America successful event that was held this Saturday. And I just want to say that next year we will definitely have another character. We've had a volunteer down that end. So as soon as we'll get his costume for next year, and we'll have more members of the council participating. So again, I apologize. And the other issue that I wanted to discuss was regarding the recreation department. So far, I've only had one meeting in January. We did not have a February meeting. There was some type of conflict, I guess, with recreation events that night, so that meeting was not held, or I would have discussed this with them again. But one of the things that came up at the January meeting was their request to finally utilize the property on Newmarket Avenue that was the bus depot. First and foremost, they wanted it cleaned up. It looked, quite a mess for a while. And they requested if there was any possible way to utilize that area for ponytail fields. There's a lot of crowding there. There's a lot of crowds at their events. They suggested perhaps a walking path and maybe some additional parking for the ponytail fields there. So I did meet with Mr. Miller, and we discussed possible uses for that area. There are some wetlands located on that property, which makes it very difficult to use. It really couldn't fit a field or any other kind of sporting, facility there. So a purpose that we put our heads together and kind of came up with, which has been discussed before, is a dog park in that area. So it would fit very well there. I have the dimensions. There would also be a lot of parking spaces there, and ultimately we could provide some overflow parking for the ponytail fields and hopefully create a path, as short as possible from the ponytail fields to the parking and to the dog park. So that would satisfy that need as well. And I have the very preliminary, but it's not that preliminary, it looks pretty good.
Well, it's concept sketch.
Concepts.
We looked at that we can fit. Do you want me to hold this up here? Here's one of the
Okay. Yes, thank you.
I don't know that you're going to be able to see it, but.
That's great. I never had any assistant or anything. This is wonderful.
I can hold this.
Okay.
Why don't you walk in front of the camera?
I got it.
Hold this. Want me to describe it quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
Do you want to hold it while you describe?
It's worse than the Girl Scout pictures.
A smaller version of it. This is new here for me. so.
Lenny,
Try it this way.
yeah, they've seen it. They know.
Len, you're blocking the peanut gallery.
I can maybe explain it a little bit. You can add the dimensions. Look to me. Let's see, 250 feet by 135 feet. And there's two areas, which is recommended to always keep one area for smaller dogs, one area for larger dogs for safety concerns. So each area would be 125 by 135 feet. And the number of parking spaces, there would be a paved walkway around the area, 6 feet. And I don't think I thought you were going to calculate the number of parking spaces. You can see there's quite a few around the entire.
Yeah, along the front, you've got 25
Right.
along the front.
There you go.
And then in the overflow parking, which
13.
is off
I
New
see.
Market, it's going to be 13
Right.
spaces. Then you also have room for overflow parking on the I guess that's the south side
South or west.
for future parking, and we do own 2 lots which are on the other side of Rio Street, which could be used for overflow parking also. So there's a lot of room for parking out
Yeah.
there.
Mr. Chief, that's Blitz and Kaiser Parkway.
Great, thanks.
So along the roadway, and you're doing a great job holding it up, but I can't see much.
Oh, we know.
So are we looking at like some kind of buffer along, or is it just going to be?
Yeah, there's a landscape
Okay.
area right off of New Market Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a sign, will go in, you know, in the front, make it decorative. So that is the idea that, you know, I wanted to present, and that I'll bring up at the next recreation meeting, and hopefully they'll be happy with that as well.
How would it be affected if, God forbid, we get another major flood, because it does flood there? I mean, the water does come all the way up that far.
Yeah, we're going to tell people to stay home and.
I'm just saying, what's the dog park going to be made of? Is it canine turf, or, you know? Because then if that's the case, then you got to worry about that lifting and floating away.
No, we propose just to have grass out there. Have
Just
a
like
grass
the other
field with
ballparks.
chain link fence around it. And, you know, a few amenities.
Yeah, similar to the county one in Highland Park and to the county one in Echo Lake Park.
All right, you guys can put that down. Or you can stay there the rest of the meeting. It's up to you. Looks good. I got this small version. Anything else, Councilwoman? Mr. Rizzi looked at that as thrilled as Glenn reading the budget.
Thank you very much, and that's it. With that, I guess progress.
Thank you. Councilman Benjamin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman, for bringing that up. It's been discussed for many years in the past. I know Councilman Barletta was discussing it for the past.
We discussed it in 2005.
Yeah, we actually did a dog census back in 2007 or 8, and approximately almost a third of our town has dogs. A third of our households have dogs. So it is a popular thing throughout the county, especially the one down in Highland Park, and I believe that's County Park. And we go there at like 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning during the week, and there's a steady stream of people going, and it's just a good thing to have for the community. So.
Yeah, well, I think we looked at some other areas. So, I mean, this isn't, you know, the first area that was researched, but it appears to be probably the best fit. You know, when you have pretty much anything that you propose in a given neighborhood, you get that not in my backyard. If everybody likes the concept and they would love to take the dog there, but when you decide, you know, you're going to put it in a particular area, it's not such a good idea anymore. The good thing about this is it's somewhat remote. I mean, it's close enough to neighborhoods over there, but I think there's enough of a buffer and there'll be enough of room between residential houses. I know we looked at possibly Putnam Park and having it, and kind of along the inside, and I know members of the council were kind of back and forth, and I don't think that was, that probably would have proposed some challenges for some folks that use the park over there. So there were some other ones that we were looking at too, and just not, didn't seem to fit the bill. So hopefully everything looks here. Do we have any kind of timeline or anything like that, Mr. Miller or Mr. Councilwoman Lewandowski?
Well, certainly as soon as we can. We're hoping to do it, get started within the next few months.
We have a cost factor?
Well, once we get our money in place for capital, we can start looking at the fence and the things that we're going to do. So, I mean, we can start getting at, well, we have been out there already to start to clear up a little
Yes,
bit
the
front.
clearing is already started.
And we're going to clean the place up so it looks good to begin with. There is some debris on site that we have to get trucked out of there first. And after that, then we'll get to grading the property and looking at getting the fence, and we'll fill in the low areas. So we will be starting we can start doing something within about a month or so on the site.
Excellent. Anything else, Councilman Benjamin? Councilman Gus.
I would just like to thank the council sorely needed, and I know Len is going to be happy. He's finally getting a few things that doesn't have to drive back to open the gate, close the gate. So I'd like to thank you for that, and with that progress.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ward.
I'd just like to say that ballpark sounds good. It's, anything's gonna be an improvement to the way it looks now, so I'm looking forward to it. I don't have a dog right now, but maybe I'll get one. But anyway, that progress.
Thank you. Council President Ward.
I did laugh, yeah. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just two quick items. First of all, In-N-Out Bagel, they've had their soft opening. They're very pleased with coming to town. They have great things to say about the residents. They're going to be having a grand opening on this coming Saturday, the 11th at 10 a.m. Ribbon cutting, and we'll have all sorts of specials, so please stop by. And then also, I had a meeting this afternoon with the owners of A to B Veg. It's going to be taking over the place of the old corner bakery, and they're looking to open probably by the end of the week or beginning of next week. So they'll be taking over that space. And with that progress, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman, at this point, we'll open it up for public comments. Yes, Suzanne.
Suzanne McCord, Bullard Place. Just a couple of things. I had the opportunity to attend the state spelling bee on Saturday, where we had 2 participants from South Plainfield who qualified through the regionals into the state tournament. It was very exciting and very nerve-wracking for someone who's just sitting in the back going, every time they get up to spell. Nethra Sram and Arthva Cody were the 2 students who participated. And I believe Nethra finished in about 7th in the state out of about 30 or so kids. And Arthva finished in 2nd.
Awesome.
So it was just very exciting to see them both compete. And he did the same thing he did at RV, where he asked every time, can you please give me the definition? Can you please use it in a sentence? And I think that technique is what helped him advance so far, because it allowed him to stay calm the whole time. So they had, and the words were so difficult. Dilapidated, galleon, which is a Spanish ship, so it's, I didn't even know, it was Galleon. I was thinking in my head, oh, Ion. And then they said, when the child spelled it correctly with EON, they're like, oh, that's correct. I'm like, it is? So, but no, it was very exciting to see. Also wanted to remind everyone that we have our talent show on Saturday at 2 p.m. at Wesley Methodist Church. We have quite a few performers this year and a lot of new faces performing, including one of our own members who's going to be singing, and along with some backup dancers. So it's going to be very enjoyable, and I strongly encourage everyone to attend the show.
Excellent.
You'll be very entertained. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? The young man in the back there. Not you, Mr. Sushi. Yeah, it's a little bit of
Good luck.
Okay. Can you state your name and your address for us, please?
Okay. My name is Anthony Soli, 2529 Hamilton Boulevard. Can you guys hear me on that?
Sure.
I have a question about the dog park. Will all the money that's going to be like fundraised for that, will it be counted as a dog trust?
A dog trust. We'll throw that one to our chief financial officer. Sounds like a great one.
Yeah, we do have a dog trust. We actually do have a dog trust. I will verify whether or not those funds would be eligible for the park. Some of it may be. I will, Mr. Rizzoli, I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you very much, Council.
You're looking for a job as a chief financial officer?
Nice job, very impressive.
Anyone else?
Are you going to take Debbie's place tonight? Yeah.
Oh.
I have a list already, in case you're Debbie Boyle,
She just wanted me to remind everybody that Taste of South Plainfield is Monday, the 13th, at the Senior Center, 6 to 9. Tickets are still available, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, on behalf of Deb, she misses you all.
That's not,
Very sad she's
that's
not-
not a Debbie Boyle report.
I've got one
We
for
we barely touched March activities.
I know, I should have, I needed another 10 minutes, but
Okay.
I got one item.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to tell you on the Taste of South Plainfield. I'm going to just continue.
Thank you,
on
Nancy.
with her. Thank you. Okay, we have 16 restaurants, including In-N-Out, and Casey's, Casa Romano, Little Licky's, Uncle G's, and La Bonaire, lots and lots of food. 6 tables of wine to sample. We're still working on the craft beer, but we will have some, okay? So tickets are still available, and we're going to be honoring at least 20 businesses. They grow every day. But
Yes.
very few people have, Capo's also got, so we're getting a lot of people that say yes, yes, yes. So please come out. I don't know what time we're going to hand them out
Just
yet.
let me know, I mean, I'll
It would
plug
be
you
too
in.
soon if you did them at 6 o'clock, maybe 7 or 7:30.
Okay.
I will have to, people should be able to eat first and not be rushed with that, okay? I also wanted to ask about our decorating lights that are on Hamilton Boulevard. There's several have been knocked completely off their stanchion, and all that's left is a cone. One of them is right in front of the senior center. Who's in charge of putting those back up, or will they ever be put back up?
We've contacted the electric company many times, asked them to come out, and it's on their list for them to come out and repair.
This has to be a replace, not just a repair.
Yeah, replaceable. We've sent over many requests, and they say it's on their list, and we keep calling them, asking again, where is it, and we're on their list.
Is that PSE&G?
PSE&G.
You want to call our friend, you still our friend? Still our friend? Yeah.
The property tax thing that you got for the Hollywood Court, are we going to give them money back, or do they get in a tax credit? Do we know yet?
It was in the correspondence, you're talking about resolution 17-115.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna get a refund of almost $39,000.
Ooh.
38,892.
38 what?
892. That's what we estimate.
Also, this is for Debbie Boyle. The referendum vote is next Tuesday. Whether you want to have the bond or you don't want to have the bond, please come out. Because I think it's all day, it's not an afternoon one.
The
right?
normal hours.
It's regular, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
7
to
8. 7 to 8 p.m.
It's an awful long day, yeah.
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
It's a very long day.
Normally, when there's a school board, we had school board elections, it was just the afternoon, wasn't it?
Yes, but
The school boards
we
have the
opted to go
option.
7 a.m. for the full day for the people who would vote on their way to work.
Okay. That's all I have.
Excellent, thank you, Debbie.
No, I don't want her to feel left out, okay?
Probably the only resident that can not be at a meeting and have served
I'm
as
so
Like a young man, how are you?
Just want to remind the mayor and council that the Lions Club is having their annual gourmet breakfast on April 9th. You're also invited to April 8th, where we have the luncheon for Keystone and St. Joseph the Blind at Sacred Heart. The press, if you want to come to for St. Joe's. All right.
That's at 8 o'clock, Mike?
The breakfast starts at 8, and the lunch is at 12 o'clock, right after we have the mass. And it's at Sacred Heart. They're having this. Actually, this year's mass is going to be dedicated to Brian Caparelli, because, member Lions Club. The other question I have
Is
is...
the Keystone Lunch at Sacred Heart, did you say, or is it?
Sacred Heart, yeah, Keystone's at, well, not at Sacred Heart Church, at
The cafeteria.
And there's a special mass on Saturday, or?
well, they have the mass for Keystone and St. Joseph the Blind. They go to mass first.
Okay,
And
so-
they have a mass for them, and then after the mass, they come and we give them lunch.
Okay, so the mass would be like 11 and then the lunch 12.
Yeah, I would guess around 11. I'm not really sure. The other question I have is, I am a member of the Lions, not the Lions Club, of the Rescue Squad, life member. I was there last meeting, and did they get they told me they didn't get their money for last year yet.
I just signed the bill.
Oh, did you? Okay, no, just was wondering why they didn't get their money for last year.
They got an increase year over year.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because,
Yep,
they don't get that much.
I got it right in the packet.
I have a father who's a life member, so.
The other thing is, too, I do have a question on the roads that are being taken. Is there a list of the roads that are being redone?
Oh, yeah, so on the ordinance, right now in the ordinance, Lane, Ritter, and Manning, that little section across the way.
I mean,
Murray Avenue.
when you do it on the agenda, can you put a list on there for us? We can see what the list is.
Yeah, I mean, and there's other roads that might be done as well because we might have extra money and stuff like that.
And you know, is the county doing the work, or are you putting out the bid?
Well, the DOT project is gonna go out to bid.
Oh, okay.
But we will probably look to go to the county for a quote and see what numbers we get, to see what's cheap.
Okay, I know my road's not.
Well, your road was already
It was
done.
done, I know, we had a couple of years ago, so I'm not concerned about that. Just want to know what roads are being done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, one thing, also, we forgot that, this Thursday is the homeowners, workshop.
Yes.
I think it's from 6 to 9 at the.
6 to 9 at the senior center, and you can come at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to remind.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, sir.
Jason Rosoli, 2529 Boulevard, and I'm here, not on 100 Main. And I'm actually glad my son came up. I did not put him up to that question. That was pretty good. But I will admit that that's the easy Anthony Rosoli to do. Come April, if I don't have 100 Main underway, you have to deal with the other Anthony Rosoli. That's a whole other story. But I'm here because I have Comcast. I don't know if any of you have Comcast.
I do.
And I believe Channel 96 is where the local access program is. And I'm not sure what residents, if we put our council meetings on there, I know a lot of other towns do, put their council meetings on the television, but for the past month, I haven't seen this on Channel 96. So, which, just a green screen, flickering. So,
We'll take a look at it.
Can I just answer that? I know that Debbie takes that and she mails it to them every
Yeah.
single.
No, I know, and I think Debbie's doing her job with that. I'm not going to question
They're
Debbie
not
doing her job.
You're saying that's 24 hours a day because they have other programming on there.
They do have other programming. I
None-
actually
none of it's
watched
shown?
Freehold Director Rios the other night flickering and giving his little spiel.
I noticed that a couple of days, it's been flickering, maybe even longer.
But it's been over a month. And before that, I've never seen one of our council meetings on that.
I've seen it on 7 o'clock on Mondays, I used to watch it.
Okay.
Well-
But for the past month, it's been like that.
The other thing too, not to turn people away from Comcast, but we do have a South Plainfield, YouTube channel that we've created now. So as soon as those videos are taken, the next day, I think, Ann is uploading them. So she's sending them to Verizon for Fios, she's sending them to Comcast.
I know that
Yeah.
the Observer has it on their website.
The Observer has it on the website, and so there's another opportunity as well.
I just want to make a comment. I know a couple of weeks ago, an email was sent out by the school board. I believe that they were having that there was something with servers.
Yeah.
It wasn't a month ago, it was a couple of weeks ago, so I'll try to
And
find
the
out.
reason why I bring it up is not because I like to see myself up here, even though I'm a pretty decent looking guy. I do it because, the Girl Scouts are here. And I'm pretty sure most of the family members of the Girl Scouts who don't have the time to come to these meetings, and, elderly residents that aren't able to get out of their house. That
But
are
I'm sure
voters.
every one of those Girl Scouts knows who are playing YouTube.
Exactly.
Just a guess.
But I bet you that a lot of senior citizens in this town don't.
You're right,
They're
so-
gonna want to channel 96.
So funny you mentioned Comcast tonight because we are about in the process to start negotiations with Comcast. And we're going to talk to our attorney about setting up those negotiations. And one of the things that I'm looking at, and I talked to the administrator last week about this, is to enhance what we have with Comcast. So we have much more control over the programming, albeit during the day, because the facilities are at the high school. But we are looking at getting, I'm not a technology guy here with the broadcasting equipment, but I think they want something where they can actually be able to program it and put it on delay. Right now, they can turn the switch and have it on, but I don't think they can program it or have it delayed, right? So they can't have something go on at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. So I think we're working on that. But what we want to do is ultimately improve whether we end up negotiating with Comcast or another company that comes in here. We want to enhance and bring up whatever level of cable access channel that we're going to have on a Comcast, similar to what we have at Fios, if not better. So that's what we're
The main reason I'm bringing this up is your ability to interact with this town and the citizens of this town. It's vital. If you want to keep this as a town where it's close-knit community, you got to be able to have access to them. It's a struggle for me to come to these meetings, and I've been coming for a couple times now, not because I want to run for council, even though I heard I have to come to all the meetings if I wanted to. But, because it's, it goes back actually to another part of the town that I would like to see a lot of improvement in, and that is our rec department. And our recreation, really, I think there's a lot of areas where we can improve there. The only way we're going to improve is by really reaching out to the community, because you can come up with the most brilliant programs in this town you want, but if you don't have the ability to get people to sign up for them and let everyone know about that, whether it's through Channel 96 or an email list or something like that, they're going to all fall flat. So.
Just one more point, because as you continue to talk about Comcast, I don't know about any of you, but I very rarely watch anything when it's actually supposed to be on. So if you happen to have nothing better to do and you look through Comcast menu, you often see a lot of on-demand government type programming. I don't think that they're doing these meetings now, but that's also what we're looking at doing. Is so rather than, you saw Councilman Wallach saying they're on 7 o'clock. I mean, you're absolutely right. Probably people don't know what time they're on. And again, who's going to sit there? You're sure you can DVR it, but nowadays everything's on demand and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that as we're doing the work, filming these and bringing them over, that the increase is there. But again, part of what we're going to do is promote the other alternatives that we have as well, because there's not one size fits all issue.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of exciting stuff you guys talk about.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Looking forward to a very exciting budget presentation that I don't want to miss. So, yeah.
Thank you. And there's no charge for it tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Seidel.
Just sitting back there thinking if Mr. McCorsky were alive today, he saw a $250,000 salary holding up a piece of paper instead of a $10 bulletin board, he'd have a comment.
There's less than a $10 bulletin board. There's 2 books there, probably cost about $2.95 each. Now, it's our problem that we have a short attorney who couldn't reach up there and actually put that, but that's besides the point.
Mr. Rizzoli coming up here jogged my memory from last month. Question. He brought up a situation on Main Street of a business operating, pending approval, like a zoning approval.
Yeah, correct.
Just out of curiosity, if a business started up illegally and is operating in an area that's not zoned, why are we still allowing it to operate?
Here's where, before I have the attorney try and say I'm saying too much, I'll make it very simple. We have one directive that comes from this governing body to all employees and all department heads throughout this borough. And that is to enforce the code, the laws, the regulations, or whatever it is. As you can imagine, there are some that have some flexibility over when they decide to find somebody, whether they decide to make them go before a board, how accommodating they're going to be. I think we've made our position pretty clear without going and saying, do something, right? And I think that's the line where we don't want to cross. We're not going to go and force a zoning official, a construction official, or somebody else to do something that we see that should be done. That being said, we want them to do their job. And so we will push as far as we can to the letter of the law without putting undue force or pressure on any of these department heads or officials to do exactly what you're saying. No, we don't want somebody to come and operate here and operate for 18 months. I think that's pretty clear. So I'm not going to say too much more than that other than enforce the laws, enforce the regulations. Same thing with our police officers. The chief can tell you there's not been one conversation where I've told them to go out and do something. Now, do we say step up patrols if you can? Sure. Are we telling them go out on Park Avenue and issue 10, 15 speeding tickets tonight? Absolutely not. We have full faith in our department heads and our employees to do their job and do them right. Doesn't always mean that it works out that way and it comes out the way that we would like it, but that's the position that we have. And if there's anybody who's got a different position, yeah, have anything else, Paul?
No, I mean, there are certain protections for those officials so that there isn't political interference. So there is limited powers that you can have.
And I'm not talking about political interference.
I understand that, but that's
clearly
in place for.
Clearly it's illegal.
Right.
they're breaking essentially the law, the zoning law. So I don't understand where the political aspect comes into that, if it's black and white.
It's not a political aspect. My point is those limitations are in place to protect against the political aspect. I'm not talking about a specific instance or a specific case. In terms of the case you're talking about, the zoning officer makes that determination and has the discretion to make that determination. So that would be an answer or a question she would have to answer.
So the zoning officer has the discretion to allow a business to operate illegally.
Depending on what her opinion is in terms of the operation, yes.
I'm not saying we agree with it either. Lots of things that you, over the last 2-3 months, I probably told you I don't agree with.
I guess one of the points that Jeff brought up was the question that I wanted to ask too is, if she deems that something is not legal, he or she, the zoning officer, and it says that they have to come before the board, but they just continue to operate, they can just continue to operate illegally?
If she make, wait, everyone keeps saying illegally. The issue here, though, is not a situation where somebody just started up in a zone, started a new business. It's a situation of them, and I recognize there's a difference in the business, but the property was being used in a certain way in her determination.
Yeah,
The
but
prior zoning
it
officer
went from a
allowed
towing
it to
company,
go.
it went from a towing company to a paving company.
Whatever it went to, she made the determination that it wasn't that enormous a change, but that she still felt they should go before the board, and she wasn't gonna shut them down, allowing them to go before the board. That was her decision.
I guess we've heard, keeps coming up at the meeting. It's been going in front of the board for a year and a half. So when does it come to a point where it's just up to her? Okay.
That would be her decision.
Okay.
Well, maybe the thing that, so that we can get the questions answered, because obviously we don't have the answers as to the discretionary piece of this. So maybe what we can do is see, maybe Glenn, we can see about having her come to a meeting and address some of these questions.
Oh, when are they scheduled to be in front of the board? Oh, so, okay, so we got some time.
Yeah, maybe we can have, this way you can ask her, and she can give you the answers, because we can't dictate what she's thinking or what's in her head.
She can't come here and make public comments about a pending, you got a pending application. So
And I
don't
guess
think she can do
what
that
happens if
ahead of
in
time.
April, they say, oh, you know what, we want to postpone it again, we don't want it.
That's the question she would have to answer.
Yeah.
It just seems to me, based on the dialogue here, is that it could end up being arbitrary for the individual in charge of what zoning, does that fall under zoning?
This one is
Yeah.
the zoning.
They, one day they can cite one person, but in her opinion, or his opinion, they don't have to follow that same route for somebody else.
Is that any different than a police officer allows somebody to go 35 miles in a 25 zone? Decides I'm not gonna give a ticket to that person today. There is some
And that's
discretion.
code enforcement too. I mean, somebody can walk by your grass, it's too tall, they decide not to give you a ticket, the next day goes, next block, gives somebody a ticket. I mean, a lot of hypotheticals, I know you're not talking about hypothetical on this case, but I think I've made my position very clear. And I don't know what more I can say other than to repeat it again, if you want me to repeat it again. You can repeat it again. So, I don't know. My suggestion would be, and anybody else who's watching this, if you live in an area like that, you're impacted, and go talk to the zoning official, construction officials, whoever the officials are. We do not shield these people from the public. You're more than welcome to go and call them up, call the departments, those numbers are there, question those people directly. But we wish we had certain powers that we don't. And maybe that's good, maybe it's not, I don't know.
In terms of an issue I brought up a couple months ago about departments working together, the buffer zones, I guess that falls under zoning. I drive down Hamilton Boulevard, headed toward Home Depot, that new sport camp or whatever that opened up.
Yeah.
It looks like a nuclear holocaust site.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
No.
it's all black.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
And-
I mean, when
and-
we approve these buildings, are we not insisting that they have a landscape plan? You know?
We are, but it's not, when you say we, that's a very broad and general term. We, it's not us up here. None of us sit on that zoning board where those decisions came. It's not you, last I checked, you're not on the zoning board either, and it's not the majority of the residents. But we do have residents that are volunteers, some that have been through multiple administrations, who sit up there, listen to testimony, and decide to grant whatever leeway or whatever conditions on the business that they seem fit. Now again, I repeat myself, do I agree with it 100%? No. But in that particular case, that was, I believe, part of, I don't know if you were the engineer Len, on the board at the time, but I believe that was for future overflow parking. And so, maybe they're going to need it, maybe they won't. They've made a decision on their business that they're not going to do something, they're not going to invest, let's say, too much to do something that maybe, I don't know if there was a look back period where, forward looked at the board, or that the board, the board's going to be able to come in and take a look at that and say, yes, you need parking now, right? So if you landscaped that and you sodded it and you made it look real nice and all of a sudden you got to rip all that out to put more parking, I think you've got a problem. Now, if that was I can repeat myself, I tend to talk a lot. If that was my business, I wouldn't allow weeds to be all over the place and stuff like that. If you're trying to run a business, whether it's a 7-Eleven or it's a all park, whether turf park, whatever it might be, you're going to want to make that look presentable and attractive to the public, right? So, we can send code enforcement out there if there's something that, they want to have to take a look at it. Certainly, those guys can take a look at it and see if this nuclear holocaust is what you say it is. I don't think so. I think I was by there this past weekend on my way to Home Depot. But surely this is the same conversation I have with our code enforcement officials all the time. Enforce the code, make the town look presentable. You don't have to go overly aboard and crack down on business owners and be unrealistic. I think that's a common sense, middle of the road approach. And Mr. Miller, is there anything else to add to that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the front of the lot there, they actually had to bank some parking when they were approved, because the concern was when their application came before the board that they may need more parking. The applicant made a plea saying that they believed they had enough parking for their site. As a compromise, the board required them to reserve that front area for banked parking in the future if deemed necessary. They're having some volleyball tournaments out there, and it seems like that parking is necessary. So we're going to go through the process of having the board request them to come back in, and that site plan will be looked at again, and they're going to have to address the parking issue. At that time, the board can also, ask for other things now that they know where the parking will have to go. They can talk about landscaping at that time too.
It just seems to me that, when we talk about budgets and expenses, South Plainfield, the cheapest thing I think we can do is our image in terms of landscaping and our appearance.
Yeah.
I think every administration in years past, that's been one of their campaign issues, is, beautification of the town. And it seems that, as simple as that is, it's often the last thing that we're doing, and addressing the image.
I wouldn't agree with that. So I know you got the library board that's considering, a sprinkler system. I think they're going to go out to bid. We're going to look at potentially getting a quote for this property as well.
We're talking about coming off at 287.
Yeah.
We're talking about
correct, but again,
New Brunswick Avenue, New Market Avenue.
But as
the
you
corner of
know,
Harris Steel. There's a trail, an office trail that's dumped on its side.
Yeah.
There's trucks with
again,
material sitting there. I mean,
at the expense of repeating myself only for the seventh time
I
tonight.
understand. Keep repeating. But that's the simple things that we can do.
Yeah, some of it is private property. Most of it is private property. In that instance, again, enforce the law, enforce the code, make the town look good. Now, there are some people, unfortunately, that you are not going, no matter what you do, we could find them day in and day out. And they're not going to improve, the look of whether it's a residential home or whatever. There might be certain issues here. That's a real, situation across, not just here, across a lot of areas. You can go to any community and find the same thing. Businesses, again, to me, it's a natural thing. If I own a building, a lot, whatever it might be, as a business owner, again, I would think I'm going to take care of that property. We do have programs, we have glitter rewards, and we have other things that kind of incentivize that. But you run into that line where, does it violate a code or does it not? Is it just that it doesn't look as nice as it could be, or it's not? Anything that violates anything, an ordinance, code, whatever you want to call it. Marching orders are very simple around here. Go out and, of course, make the town look good. It's a broken window policy, that theory, right?
And just as a note, I should bring up, when a lot of residents come up and make a statement, the response of other towns, there's other towns. Well, plain and simple, I live in South Plainfield. I don't care what Piscataway does. And I know you're not meaning it.
No,
I'm just concerned with South Plainfield. Okay, this is the town I live in. This is the town I pay taxes in.
Right.
Okay. On the last note, there's a local, I guess, cement contractor, cement mixing company in town here. Very bad habit dumping his leftover concrete and stone along the roadways. Right in front of Home Depot. Is there anything we can do about that contractor to ensure that coming out of Bryan Street, his equipment is cleaned and maintained, that he's not dumping rocks or wet concrete that hardens up?
Mr. Mayor, this came up because that site has had 2 applications before the zoning board, and this issue has come up twice with them. They were required to clean up the site. It's in their resolution that they have to change their policies to make sure the drivers are not overfilling, and that they come out. It's been told to them twice. It's a question of enforcement out there and catching them when they do it, when it happens. They're running around the clock sometimes in the middle of the night. They're coming out there, and when we see it, we call them up and we send them out there to clean it. They have not been very cooperative, quite frankly. We've had the regional manager come to board meetings and say he's going to take care of it. And that was 1 meeting ago, 1 whole application ago, because I haven't even been to the 2nd application. And I told the consultant, and it's in that resolution also.
Chief, does that sound like it's violating anything that is within the police department control?
Yeah, I mean, we could, if we caught them in the act doing that, yes, I mean, we could enforce traffic violation along those lines, but, it's obvious that it's probably coming from that company in itself, the debris is being left in the roadway. But a matter of not seeing them do it, it's hard pressed unless someone is gonna say, hey, they did it, you have a witness, if they're willing to sign that complaint, they can do that, and you know how that's gonna go.
So we've had board members go. Have you talked to the company?
I have not, no.
I talked and I stopped.
Yeah, you're not.
I've seen it, well, actually.
And
they
Mr.
went and cleaned
Mayor,
it up
tell the
after
chief
I
to type
stopped.
up the complaint, because I'll sign it.
Maybe you reach out to them and
I'll
just
sign
say
it
that.
too, because I saw him do it.
Because I drive to New Brunswick every day, and from here to New Brunswick, they're leaving concrete all
Well,
over.
if a citizen's coming forward, like we have 2 right now.
I called and gave them license plate numbers, and the cops have gone out and they've cleaned that. But if you don't get in in time, and it drives on the road and you're going over that bridge, you hit a piece of concrete.
I mean, I could put something out there for our traffic safety division, have them monitor the area also, and let people, be aware of the situation.
I mean, it's one thing if a
Maybe able to
board-
rectify it a little bit.
Yeah, it's one thing if a board or the engineer, goes and talks to the owner. I think it's a little different if the chief of police.
We'll shoot over there.
Probably. I think I'd take it a little bit differently. Not
We'll
telling
be
you
over
to do
there
anything.
tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right. At this point, we will close the public portion. We are going into executive session. You are more than welcome.